Hey, so today, as you guys begin to move into your final project, one option you have is to incorporate the element of collage into what you're going to do. Now, collage works best with acrylic paint because of its fast drying nature and the way you can incorporate your matte medium even as almost a glue medium, and I'm going to show you right now. So this is just a piece of an illustration board similar to what you guys are going to be using, and this is some acrylic paint I laid down and let fully dry because I wanted to show you the application of the different paper elements onto the illustration board and also onto paint. So you might decide to lay in a background or a gradient or something to get yourself started and then lay in some elements on top of that. Or you might find yourself even wanting to lay in a paper background, found object. This is just some old sheet music, and then paint on top of that. So the choice is yours, but I wanted to show both approaches. This is some basically just colored craft paper, but it's a little thicker than, say, typing paper. Again, the sheet music. This is more thick. This is an old paper doll, so found. This is a laser print. And then I brought this out too because this is an inkjet print onto tracing paper, which is somewhat water soluble. So I just wanted to show you what happens when that's in the mix. So to begin, when dealing with a more thin paper, kind of like sheet music, tissue paper, some magazines, you are going to want to lay in a layer of matte medium both beneath and on top. Reason being, it'll help the paper, especially if it's more thin, to lay flat once it dries. You don't want a buckled surface to work on. It's kind of frustrating. So I recommend doing this method that I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to use my well palette for my matte medium, just so it has a place to lay, and then it won't spread out so much. As you can see here, I have this blue that I mix with my palette knife that you see here. So you're going to want to get a nice soft flat brush for your application, and then kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but get an idea for where it's going to be. And you're going to want to apply a very thin layer of matte medium where you're going to apply that paper, and then quickly before it dries, go ahead and lay that paper on. And then you're going to immediately apply a layer across the top of the paper as well. You can put it underneath. And so I'm already going to need some more here. And you just want a nice, smooth, even coat across the surface. And as you can see, it's causing that paper, when you have the matte medium beneath and above the paper, you're going to have less of a buckle happening as it dries. Okay. So we're going to let that dry. As you can see, that's on there. Okay, now with thicker paper, sometimes because it has enough stiffness inherently in it, you don't have to do the same method where you're laying it beneath and above. And so with something like this, sometimes for just the initial placement and to get it to lay down, I'll actually just use a glue stick to apply. Again, it doesn't have to be on the entire surface. Just get some of that glue on there. This glue's a little sticky. And then I'll show you. I'm going to place that, even though this isn't fully dry yet, I'm going to place this here. Okay, so that's going to give it an initial grab, and we're going to come back to this with some layers of paint and matte medium. But for now, we're just going to let that sit as I'm working out my composition here. And again, this might be a background. These elements might be accents to your final piece. It's up to you. And then this is a laser print. So this feels thin enough to me that I think I'm gonna do the underneath and above method for this paper. So this time I'm gonna lay it on almost like a glue. So brush that on there. Okay, this I'm gonna set here. Okay, and then immediately, now when dealing with any kind of printout, you want to have a very soft touch because you don't want to disturb the ink. Laser prints are going to hold up a lot better than an inkjet print, which I will show you momentarily with my flower here. Okay, so beneath and above, making sure you don't have any globs of that matte medium, and you can tuck it underneath if it's not adhering, and above. And it should go lay pretty flat for you. Okay, so as you can see, this is where I'm at so far. So I'm going to show you this too. So if you want to add something thin, if you want to print something out on your tracing paper, maybe one of your drawings you can incorporate, you can, but I'm going to show you what happens with an inkjet. It can run. So I'm going to show you what happens. And that might be an effect you want, might not be an effect you want. So as this image didn't run when I applied the matte medium because it's a laser print. So if you want your imagery to stay put, I recommend getting a laser print. Okay. And then I'm going to come up at this now. Okay. Trying to get, you can even lightly with your finger smooth out any wrinkles that start to show up. Okay, that already started to reactivate. So as you can see, as it touches, as the ink touches it, it's reactivating that ink because it's not waterproof. So for this particular demo, I don't mind that, but just bear that in mind. If you go to apply your matte medium to your image and it starts to run, just make sure that's something you actually want to happen. Okay, in this case, I'm not minding too much. And then as you can see, this tissue paper is buckling a little bit. And so also what I recommend is perhaps doing a little test to see how the different papers you use respond, because you may want them to buckle a little, but probably not. And so, you know, going forward, I probably wouldn't use the tissue as much, but you can, even with your brush, smooth a lot of that out to get as flat a surface as you possibly can. Okay. All right, so we've got a surface layer, mostly of paper. We have this paint element here. And then I want to show you what you can do. So because it's matte medium, now I'm adding it to my palette pad next to my paint. You can begin to grab some of that paint to tone the matte medium. So if you want to come over in certain areas with a tone, you can do that as well. Now given some areas, or you can grab straight paint, add, so let's say I want to add some dark blue in here, you can. But then maybe I want to glaze, so I'm gonna, in my dirty water, I'm gonna wash this brush a little bit. And then grab some of this very pale, I want a tint of blue in this matte medium, but not too much. And then you can come over to get that to lay flat with this really, really pale blue. It's kind of glazy as it's mixed with that matte medium. And as you can see, that matte medium acts as a really wonderful binder and almost like a glue. Thins the paint. It works really quite nicely to adhere the paper to the surface. So with different thicknesses, I'm kind of just laying it in here. And you might choose to really obscure some of that paper you've laid down and only let elements of it show through, or you can leave it fully showing. And it's totally up to you, depending on your subject matter, depending on what you want, but I recommend experimenting a little with this element of collage. So we'll stop there for now. Now with thick paper like this, now that the surface is wet, I'm not going to put it in, but the technique would be similar to what we did with this type of paper because it has a little bit of thickness. So you might be able to use a glue stick to lay it in where you want and then do that nice thin coat of matte medium over it once that dries. You can also, once this is fully dry, come back over it with just a nice clear coat of matte medium just to make sure everything has that flat, even surface. And that will also serve as another ground for you if you want to then come in and paint on top of that. So it's just another approach that you guys can take that will give your pieces a little more dimensionality, and the choice is yours. So hope you enjoyed that demo.